Hello everyone, welcome to our second video on area and perimeter. Today's lesson we are going to talk about composite figures. Okay, all about composite figures. Now, objective of today's lesson is you are going to, after this lesson, you should be able to find the area and perimeter of composite figures. Okay, so let's dive in. Now, first things first, what is a composite figure? So like I've mentioned in class, composite figure is where we have two or more rectangles or squares. Okay, so composite figures can be made up of squares, rectangles, mixture of both. Okay, and if I have two separate, you see now I have these two separate rectangles. If I combine them, they form a composite figure, a new figure based on squares and rectangles. So that is what composite figures mean. Simple. Let's move on. Perimeter. Now what is perimeter? Oops, sorry. Okay, perimeter of a composite figure. What is it? Basically, it's the total distance around the figure. So perimeter of a composite figure is the total distance around it. So let's say this is my composite figure. The perimeter is this whole thing. What I'm drawing right now is my perimeter, the total distance around it. So in order for you to find the perimeter of this, you need to take this line plus this line plus this line plus this plus this plus this, and that will give you the perimeter of this composite figure. Simple, right? Not so. Now let's look at this question. Okay, I want you to find the perimeter of this figure. Now you would say, not too difficult. I already have this line here, 22 cm. I have this here. I have this here. I have this here. But what, I don't have is B and C, and I don't have C and D. So how do I find that? I can't use a ruler to measure. Now I need to use clues given in this question to help me. So the first clue, I can see that BC is actually equal, BC here is AF minus DE. Now how do I get that? Okay, I want you to observe carefully. Okay, I'm going to change color for BC. This is line BC. I'm going to shift it, alright, to meet AF. Same with DE. Change color, I'm going to shift it over. Now I want you to observe what happens. Do you see that BC plus DE is equal to AF? Did you notice that? BC, let me write it down. BC plus DE is equal to AF. Okay, and it's because of this. I don't know what is BC. This is what I don't know. DE I know is 17. AF I know is 22. So it's very obvious that BC is 22 minus 17, which gives me 5. Okay, so BC and DE will add up to become AF. So can I now find CD? Yeah, you should be able to see. And let me pull this down. Now I'm going to change to another color. Pull this down. I'm going to pull AB down. Change this. CD. I'm going to pull CD down. Oh wait. Okay, they match. So CD is actually FE minus of my AB, and I get my CD, which is 7 cm. Okay, so the whole idea of perimeter of a figure is that they will leave out some of the measurements, and then using the clues in the question, you are supposed to calculate and figure out what are the hidden or unknown figures, unknown values, and then from there you will be able to find your perimeter. So once you know all the readings, once you know every side what they are, I can add them all up to find my perimeter, which is 108. Okay, give you another example. Alright, so I have this here. Now I want you to look carefully. I don't have SR, but I can see that WV plus UT plus SR is equal to PQ. Okay, so let me pull this down. See, PQ is actually this plus this plus this. See, they all line up very nicely. So therefore SR is actually 23 minus of 6 minus of 11, and that gives me SR. Can? Okay, so it shouldn't bother you too much. I'll repeat myself again. This 23 minus of my 6 minus of my 11, that will give me SR. And this is 6. Now how about this? I don't have this. But what is this? Let me change the color. Now this is actually a rectangle. Can you see carefully? This is actually a rectangle, right? So if this is 6, the breadth of a rectangle is the same. So this must be 6 meters as well. So I know all my readings, and so now I can find my parameter. Alright, so parameter covered. Let's move on. Area. Let's recap again. Area of a rectangle is length times breadth. Area of a square is actually length times length. Alright, so the formula is the same. Just remember length times breadth. Okay, moving on. Now, to find area of composite figures, there are 2 methods that I want you to learn. The paste, which requires addition, cut, which is subtraction. So you either remember plus or minus or cut and paste. Okay? Now what do they mean? Now paste. If you look at this figure, like I said, composite figure is made up of actually squares and rectangles. So look at this figure carefully. What shapes is this made up of? Well, if you observe carefully, you will see that this is actually made up of 1 square and 1 big rectangle. So if I find the area of this square, let's call this A, I find the area of the rectangle B, A plus B will be my whatever I want to find, my area of my composite figure. Right? Okay, so right now, let me shift this away. There is another way which I can cut, I can divide so that I can paste the 2 areas together. So again, like this will be, if I find the area of this rectangle plus the area of this rectangle, so you can see, plus the area of this rectangle, so A plus B, that will give you the area of the composite figure. Okay, so that's the whole idea of what it means to paste. You find the area of the shapes that you know of, 2 rectangles, paste them all, or 1 square, 1 rectangle, you paste them together. Okay, now quickly refer back to your worksheet. For this part here, look at this composite figure. Now there are 2 ways that I can divide and paste this figure. I want you to draw it out here. Okay, so for this figure, what are 2 shapes that makes this figure? So draw 2 rectangles that will add up to form this. What are another way in which I can divide and paste these 2 figures, 2 either squares or rectangles or rectangle to form this composite figure? Basically what I'm trying to say is these 2 figures will add up to form this composite figure. What are they? Draw it out for me. Clear? Okay, moving on. So let's find the area of this figure. Now I already know in my previous example I already shown you how to find BC, so I will skip that part. Okay, you've already known how to find CD. I will skip this part here. So I know BC is 7, BC is 5, CD is 7. Okay, now what I want to do now is I'm going to divide this figure into 2, and I'm going to find the area of A, then find the area of B, and I'm going to paste them together. Okay, so I'm going to divide this composite figure into 2 rectangles because I know how to find area of rectangle. I know how to find area of square. I don't know how to find area of something that is so complicated. So I need to divide it to be something simpler. Alright, so that's the whole idea. So now my area, very simply, will be, this is my A. 25 times 5, see, 25 times 5 is my area of A. The area of B, which is 32, length, times 17, breadth. And then finally, I add them up together, and this will be my final answer. Okay, so the whole method of pasting is I divide and then I paste. Okay, right, move on. Now cut. I want you to look at this figure. Now if I pull this away, you see that this is actually a rectangle on its own. Okay, so I'm going to name this rectangle big A. Okay, now if I pull this back here, alright, pull this back here, you will see that it forms this composite figure. So if I name this B, okay, and I'm going to draw this rectangle, this either rectangle or square out. If I take A minus B, I will get this area of this composite figure. So this is my other method. Okay, where I take one big piece minus off the small piece. Okay, let's look at an example. Let's look at this again. So I'm going to use this big rectangle. Okay, PQRW. This is my big rectangle. I'm going to subtract off this small rectangle. Okay, subtract off this small rectangle. So it will look something like this. So area of PQRW, which is my big rectangle, is 23 length times 13, which is my breadth. So 23 times 13, that will give me 299. Okay, so this is my big rectangle. UTSV, which is this, is my small rectangle. So our 11, which is the length here, times 6, which is the breadth here. So 11 times 6. Okay, so 11 times 6 is this. So then I minus to find my area of this green part here. Okay? So this is basically what cutting is about. You find the big one minus of small one, that will give you the result. Cool? Cool. Right, that's it. Okay, before we move on to reflection, let's look at your worksheet again. Now for this example, I want you to show me what is the big figure minus of the small figure that will give me this result. So again, draw. Okay, just have to draw the big figure minus of the small figure that will give me this result. Okay, so let's move on to our reflection part. So that's it. We've come to the end of the lesson. Ask yourself this question: did I understand every part of the lesson? It's very long. This video is about 11, close to 12 minutes long. You need to ask yourself, have I understood how to find area, how to find parameter of composite figures? If you don't know, the power of video is you can replay, rewatch, you can listen to me over and over again until you go crazy. Go ahead. Okay, if you have understood the lesson, good. Come to class, get ready to work it out. If you're still not so sure, your answer is no, you did not understand every part of the lesson. Ask yourself which part you don't understand. Is it area? Is it parameter? Or is it all? I mean, there's something that you should have understood. Okay, whatever part you did not understand, write it down in your question here. Okay, and then come to class, let's trash it out, work it out so that we all understand together. Okay, so thanks for listening. See you back in class. Ciao.